The film you're about to see is about strange cloud cover. You'll see these stripes. They're from airplanes. This is what it looks under normal visual conditions. I will be showing you what it looks like under infrared light now. And I'll be using this way of showing the cloud cover because it's a lot easier to discern the difference between regular clouds and what I call chemtrails. This haze that is beside the striping that you see here, for example, is also the result of aerosol spraying from the airplanes. It falls down through the atmosphere in sheets. Imagine having a car with an exhaust that emits a plume of smoke that follows wherever you drive, and it just stays there and gets bigger and bigger. How long do you think it would last before you were pulled over and given a citation for pollution? Well, when you take a look at what's happening in the skies from airplanes, this is exactly what's going on up in our skies now. This is not just from increased air traffic. This is a deliberate campaign. It takes specialized equipment. It costs money, planes, pilots, and infrastructures to do what you can see here. The only legitimate excuse I have heard for this kind of spraying from airplanes is to mitigate global warming. There is a patent out there from 1991 from Hughes Aircraft that explains exactly what we're seeing going on here. The patent is about mixing a fine dust of aluminum oxide, barium oxide, and thorium to make a cloud cover that will in some way mitigate global warming by blocking out the sun. On this day I had 3 overflights from Hercules aircraft and 1 jet plane from the military, and I wonder if they were taking air samples of the fallout from this day. In the clip that is about to come up now, you'll see a Hercules aircraft overhead, and you'll see that there are 2 blinks of light from the bottom of the airplane, and I'm wondering if they're taking infrared ground cover pictures. An entire week of spraying like this is filmed here from the same location. Nobody really knows exactly what combination of chemicals and stuff they're putting out in the planes. They could be different planes, different effects. Instead of mitigating global warming, which is in itself a political campaign from FN to get us to pay taxes for CO2 climate gas, instead of taxing us for breathing, perhaps we should be taxing people for doing the actual pollution. Here you can see how the chemtrail is rotating on its own axis. Quite often I've seen these vortexes. They may come from the plane itself. They may be electromagnetically generated, I don't know. The HARP antenna system around the world, one of which is in Norway, one of the largest, is rumored to be used with these chemicals in the sky because they are metallic. What they are attempting to do is anybody's guess. If this is a military experiment, it's a global military experiment. If it's global, it must have something to do with the United Nations. I would not assume that the United Nations has been given the power to pollute our skies. And poison us from above. So I think we have a global problem here. In Norway, this spraying has been going on since at least 2003. That's when I first noticed it. I notice it because I'm a photographer. I've been taking pictures of the sky since I first picked up my first camera. That was in the 1960s. I'm trained to notice things like the difference between a contrail that disappears after 5 or 6 seconds and a chemtrail that lasts for hours on end. What we see here is really criminally insane. It's a crime against humanity. No one knows where this stuff is going to fall down. At, let's say, 31,000 feet over Oslo, Norway, this stuff might end up in Russia or Portugal or Italy. The amount of pollution in our environment for the time being is radically apocalyptic. While we have this spraying going on in our skies, we have radiation from Fukushima that is not being reported. it's really serious. It's getting worse. We have all the damage done from the oil and gas leaks all over the sea, including the Gulf of Mexico. Last month I heard of a gas blowout in the Northern Sea. It was at 4,000 meters depth, impossible to contain. That was a month ago. I haven't heard anything since. We are not being told how bad the earth is being polluted at this time. We are being told that it's necessary to take our vaccines so we don't get sick. And I find that very difficult to believe when we can take a look at the skies, notice the pollution going on, and notice that it seems that someone's trying to make us sick. So should we take those vaccines? Now the people that are trying to do this, they must be criminally insane. They need to be stopped. They need to be made responsible for what they've done. And somehow, this stuff needs to be cleaned up. I can only hope that there's some futuristic technology we just don't know about yet that can fix this job. Because if we don't, this planet has a serious problem. How are our next generations of life going to be able to support themselves when we've polluted the atmosphere with radiation from power plants, sabotage, from depleted or enriched uranium weapons used in wars, oil and gas leakages all over the sea, along with radiation, and this chemical soup in our sky. Our food is poisoned. Our medicine is poisoned. Our air and water is poisoned. Our oceans are poisoned. If people don't wake up to what is really going on and start pointing fingers to those involved and having them stopped in some way, it doesn't look like there's going to be a future on this planet. My own personal understanding of all of this is that it's a representation of a great polarization period on this planet, where there is an immense amount of evil, and there is also equally an immense amount of good. The reason for this polarization is so that people can wake up and ask questions as to how they want to live in their future, who they are as a human being, to wake up to their spiritual identity, their personal responsibility, and to become activated as a human being at a higher level of awareness. There are a lot of good things happening on this earth at this time, as well as the bad things. As we move towards 2012, December, it is my hope that these things will have stopped, that people will have been arrested, and that there is a change on this planet where the truth is more valued than money, and people become more valued than money. Because as this planet traverses the galactic plane in what is assumed to be the end of December this year, we will be entering into a different magnetic reality, one that we really don't know that much about how it's going to affect the Earth, but it will affect our planet. It will also affect our climate. Now, if you live in a world of chance reality, random universe, mechanical universe, this can be a scary thing. But if you live in a reality where the universe is not chance, that there is a meaning behind everything, and you are aware of your identity, then you can look forward to this change and know that it's going to be a time where what we're seeing here has ended. The people that have ruled this planet in this way for so many years, so many thousands of years, will not be here. Humanity will be able to realize its potential without these negative influences. So what we're seeing in the skies here is to really get you to become awake. And when I say awake, I really also mean aware of how the world really works and aware of who you are, your personal identity, and your part in this. What we're seeing here is a result of mentality that has to do something with competition. People competing against the forces of nature, people competing against each other for dominance, natural resources, money, rule. But the thing is that we're all connected together. Already in 1924, Max Planck discovered that consciousness, human consciousness, was something very special because it was influencing the test he and Einstein were doing, the split screen test in advanced physics. Max Planck was very fascinated by the idea that consciousness could actually change physical things. And his research showed him that consciousness indeed was stronger than even gamma radiation. It could penetrate almost anything. And if you keep your focus over time, a quiet, focused attention on what you really want, then it will manifest. So when you see skies like this, what you want to vision in your mind's eye is all this stuff gone. Visualize a blue sky, a clean sky. Do what you can to harmonize your thinking. Get rid of competition in yourself and in your life. Realize that everything bad really comes out of the idea of competition. The idea that money is a limited resource. Money is a creation of man. It can be used in many different ways, better than the way we do today. If we didn't compete over money, we just might start working for each other instead of for money. Imagine what would happen to our society if we started to think that instead of trying to dominate nature, dominate each other, that we start working together, that we clean up our act, that we harmonize our emotions, our thinking, our beliefs, our values, our actions towards ourselves and the rest of the universe in such a way that we create an earth that is a lot better than the one we have now. I would suggest that there is a tendency for this process to continue on to the future, even though we're seeing a lot of evil in the sky right now. It will stop. It has to stop. It won't stop until you become engaged, but it will stop eventually. So I hope you've learned something from this. I hope you understand there is a great difference between condensation and chemical spraying. This is just not an accident. It's happening on purpose. We just don't know why.